What's up, world, and welcome back to the Real News Network. I'm Jared Ball here in Baltimore. On the afternoon of Monday, July 20th, the Islamic State detonated a suicide bomb at the Amara Cultural Center in Suruç, a Turkish city near the border of Syria. Today, officials claim that DNA evidence points to a 20-year-old Turkish Kurd whose ID was found at the site of the bombing. The bombing claimed the lives of at least 32 young Kurdish students and injured more than 100. The students were involved in Kobani solidarity work as the Socialist Federation of Youth Associations and were traveling there to help with rebuilding efforts. Now joining us to discuss these tragic events is Sardar Saadi, who joins us from Diyarbakir in southeastern Turkey. Welcome, Sardar, to the Real News Network.
Thank you so much, my friend.
So could you just simply paint the picture of what happened exactly on July 20th?
So as you mentioned, 300 activists all around Turkey, they gathered in Suruç, Amara Cultural Center to go to Kobani to take part in the reconstruction process of the city. Most of them were members of the Socialist Federation of Youth Association, which are the youth wings of ESP, which is the Socialist Party of Oppressed. The Socialist Party of Oppressed formed an alliance with the pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party before the historical elections. So if you look at the location of this explosion, Amara Cultural Center has been playing the role of an embassy for Kobani after the siege of Kobani starting from September 2014. And after that, many international solidarity activists, journalists, and activists all around the world, they gathered there before going to Kobani or to offer their support work. And it was also a place for many refugees from Kobani when they crossed the border to Turkey. I was actually there a month ago. I was trying to go to Kobani, but I couldn't. I stayed there for 2 nights, and many people who have done something or wanted to do something for Kobani have very good memories of this place. It was a very nice building, nice little park, and people having teas and talking about the situation on Kobani over there. So I think what happened was a direct attack against this solidarity, this international solidarity with Kobani. Unfortunately, 32 Turkish and Kurdish activists from Turkey, they were killed and over 100 injured. And right now, as I'm speaking to you, there are protests all over Turkey because people are angry at the Turkish government, the Justice and Development Party's government, that they haven't done enough to prevent this attack.
Yeah, so we hear that many are skeptical of the fact that the knowledge of the bombing escaped Turkey's intelligence. And according to at least one co-chair of the pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party, or HDP, he said that, quote, "I'll wager that all of the young people present at the press briefing in Suruç were under surveillance. The police force knows everyone who was there. Let's not kid ourselves. The state knows who was going to come and who was going to go." Can you comment on that, and does that have anything to do with the protests that you're describing out in the streets now?
That's quite right, and as I said, when I was there, Suruç is a very small city. It's about 15 kilometers away from Kobani, and the border with Kobani is protected militarily, and the Turkish state's military and intelligence service presence in the city is felt, and it's almost impossible to move around without the knowledge of the Turkish state. So I joined the co-chair of HDP to at least to find some way or some sections of government or intelligence services to know about what happened or to neglect about the Islamic State's militants movement in the Kurdish areas of Turkey. So people are really angry. People are burning with anger because this is not the first time that Islamic State and the jihadists and there are many other organizations in the Kurdish region of Turkey that are actively fighting or like making troubles for the Kurdish movement here that are easily moving around and threatening people, and in this occasion killing tens of activists from Turkey, around Turkey. And these activists, there are particularly socialists, anarchists, and people who are ideologically against the Turkish state. So I think there's a truth in that the Turkish government is like knowingly or just by the politically, they're neglecting the Islamic State militants, activists in this region.
So, and finally, what do you think can come of Turkish elections, or what is the value of Turkish elections in addressing any of the concerns you've laid out here in this segment?
So I think this attack has, in three dimensions, we can see this attack, this explosion against this 300 activists. One of them, as I mentioned, it's a direct attack against the international solidarity work with Kobani. People all around the world, and not just in Turkey, they see Rojava revolution as an alternative in the Middle East against the Islamic State and against the decades and centuries even of oppression, of sectarian politics and authoritarianism in this region. The Rojava revolution has provided a hope, and the Kobanis fighting against the Islamic State during the siege clearly gave this hope a big rise, and the spirit of this revolution is growing every day passing by. So this attack was directly against this spirit. And on the other side, we have the process of reconstructing the city of Kobani, because, as I said, Kobani has become a symbol of resistance, and these 300 activists, they brought with themselves toys and books, and they wanted to go to Kobani and build little parks for children of Kobani, and and join some other works in memory of all the socialist and internationalist activists who had joined the fight in Kobani. And also, the third dimension of this explosion, I see it's directly related to the direct involvement of Turkey with the regional politics. It is almost clear that the Turkish government does not want to fight ISIS or actively engage in a fight against the Islamic groups active in Syria and Iraq, and including ISIS. There are some reports, some claims that the Turkish state has provided logistical and military support for Jabhat al-Nusra, al-Nusra Front, and other Islamic fractions, and Islamic State as well. So, and the way they're using Islamic State in the internal politics is also very important to mention, because we know that after June 7th elections, the ruling AKP party, they lost the majority of government, and the Kurdish and the leftist movement in Turkey, led by People's Democratic Party, HDP, they won a historic election, and they have 80 members of parliament right now that can prevent a majority of government by the AKP. So right now, in the political situation in Turkey is quite unclear. There are many speculations about a possible coalition with the Republican People's Party, CHP, and there is also a Nationalist Movement Party, and the AKP clearly does not want a coalition with each of them. They have basically ignored the Kurdish political party, the political movement of the Kurds. They want to blame them for being involved in terrorist activities. The Turkish government has said before that there is no difference between the PYD, the political party of Rojava, and ISIS. They see them as, both of them as belong to a terrorist movement. They are both terrorist organizations, and they declared as a terrorist organizations by the Turkish state. So right now, I feel that the Turkish AKP government, the Turkish government wants to go for another election, an early election, in which they could attract more nationalist votes from nationalist movement party, MHP. And in this way, they can form a majority government, and they continue and go ahead with their plan for changing the Turkish constitution and changing the political system of Turkey from parliamentary to a presidency, with Recep Tayyip Erdogan as the president of Turkey and the leader of the next government. I feel the plan is to, in short term, use this environment of chaos and crisis to give a rise to nationalist votes and use them in the next election against the Kurds. But I feel the spirit of Rojava Revolution has inspired many people in Turkey, and it seems quite impossible.
Sardar Saadi, thank you very much for joining us and helping us distill some of this horrific event here at The Real News. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here at The Real News. And for all involved, I'm Jared Ball, again here in Baltimore. And as always, as Fred Hampton used to say to you, we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody. Catch you in the whirlwind.